Prey is the newest movie in the Predator franchise and it's now on Disney+. I'm very excited to talk to you guys about this movie and give you my review, but real quick, if you have seen this movie, be sure to leave a comment in the comment sections of what you thought about it. Please keep your comments spoiler-free, as this is a spoiler-free review. And if you're new here, be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel. Now let's get into this review. So I didn't know too much about this movie going into it. I didn't watch any trailers. I did know this one took place in the past and is focused around indigenous characters. That's about all I knew. I actually didn't know it was coming out until very recently. Guess I just wasn't keeping track of things. And I found out it was going straight to Disney+, and that had me a little concerned because movie theaters are open again. Movies are going back to the movie theaters, so I was surprised that they sent this right to Disney+, and I wondered if that meant it was really bad. But after seeing it, I feel like it's the best Predator sequel. None of the other Predator sequels really worked for me. The second one was just meh. Predators I really didn't like. I disliked it more than most people. And then there's the Predator from 2017, which again I didn't like that one. I think I liked a bit more than most people, but I didn't really like it all that much. So this one, I was hoping it was going to be good, and I quite enjoyed it. I thought this movie did a good job of going back to basics, the basics of the original film, without feeling like a copy of the original film. It's back in a setting where it's just a few characters that the movie's focused on. They're out in the elements, out in the forests, and they have to use their skills to deal with the predator. And you got one predator there that's hunting them while they're trying to hunt it. And yeah, so that's similar to the original movie, but it differs mainly with its characters. This one's focused on indigenous people, mainly a girl played by Amber Midthunder, I believe her name is, and she did a very good job in this movie. And I thought they did a really good job portraying the indigenous people. And like, I don't know a ton about that culture, the one that focus on, to know about accuracy, but I felt like watching it that they were trying to be respectful. So I hope they were accurate and actually doing a good job of representing that culture. But I enjoyed that they focused on that, sort of switching it up from like the military people and stuff like that. This movie is also visually stunning. There's some gorgeous shots in this. The cinematography was really good. There's a lot of times when it looks like they're actually filming out in a forest, not in a studio, which either they had really good sets and CGI to cover it up, or they actually were out in the forest filming a lot of these scenes, which I really liked. The Predator looked really good in the last movie. The more traditional Predator was still looked like somebody in a costume, but they had another one that was much bigger that was a CGI Predator, which I didn't really care for. In this one, they went back to looking like an actual costume that there's a person in. And it looked really good. It was cool. Some of the technology that the Predator had was not as advanced as in the previous movies, which I thought was smart because this movie takes place in the 1700s, long before any of the other movies, so it's being accurate in that sense. So I really like that. There's some really nice scenes with the Predator where he's starting to, be a predator and hunt the animals in the land and then go after the people. One thing I also thought that really helped this movie was its runtime. It was about an hour and 40 minutes, so it wasn't too long, and I thought that really helped the movie. It kept moving for the most part, and for the movie, the story that this movie's trying to tell, it didn't need a huge runtime, so I thought this worked. It was good for that story, and it kept the movie moving for the most part. I do have a couple of issues with this movie though, and my main one is one of the storylines that goes throughout this movie that's focused on the main character. And while I really like that character, like I like the performance, and I like that it's a different character than we've seen in the other movies in this franchise, and the actress was able to keep my attention on the screen with her performance. The storyline focused on her, at least part of it, was kind of generic. She's in a young girl in an indigenous community who wants to be a hunter, but men are usually a hunter and everybody says she can't do it. So it's like, I can understand why that would be a storyline for this character, because it's like, yeah, that makes sense, if that was at a time when it was more males were doing the hunting and the woman wanted to. The problem for me was it was just a storyline that felt very familiar, and it didn't really do anything new with it. So I think when people remember this movie, they're not going to be thinking about that storyline at the start of this movie. Before it really got into the meat of it with the Predator, it was just her trying to be a hunter, you know, people saying she can't, and then she spots this predator or something that turns out to be the predator eventually, and people just aren't believing her, think, oh, it's just a bear or something. So you have that. So that was about the first 30 minutes or so, and I thought that was the weakest point of the movie. It took me a little while to get invested because it was like, I get why they chose that plot line, but it just felt familiar, and they didn't really do anything different with it to make it stand out from the other movies that have used that plot line. So I didn't really care for that. But once this character does eventually just branch out on her own to go find this thing that turns out to be the Predator, then I got really invested. It got really good then. It was more exciting because the Predator was in it more. Didn't focus too much on the people saying, oh, you can't do this. She was just doing her thing. So I like that a lot more. Eventually some of those characters come back who say she can't do things, and when they meet up again, they also meet up with the Predators, so it doesn't end well for them. And then my other issue, this one's much smaller, is towards the end of the movie, there's going to be a very, very mild spoiler. It doesn't give any like plot lines, it's just characters that show up, so it's a very mild spoiler, just so you're warned. There are some settlers at the end of this movie, or in the final act, and while there was a really cool scene with them in a setting that's kind of foggy with a lot of dead trees, so you'll know it when you see it. It's a very cool scene. I sort of felt like I could have done without them in this movie. I kind of would have liked it if it was just the indigenous people. That's just me though, and that's a small issue. Wasn't too bad because they weren't in the movie very much. So there was that, and other than that, I thought it was a really good movie. I enjoyed it. First 30 minutes were a little weak for me just because it was focusing on that storyline of, oh, she's a woman, so she can't hunt and be a hunter. So because of that, I was just sort of, been there, done that, sort of how I felt. But once she branches on her own, it gets a lot better for me, and overall, I had a good time with this movie. I would give Prey a 79%. I thought it was really good. I think it's definitely the best Predator sequel. I'd have to think and rewatch the first one again, because it's been a while to think if the original one or this one's the best in the franchise. Won't say for now. So that'll do it for my review of Prey. Again, if you've seen this movie, be sure to leave a comment of what you thought about this movie, and please keep your comments spoiler free, and stay tuned for some of my upcoming reviews. I'm hoping to watch 13 Lives tonight, which I'm very excited for, so I'll have a review for that, as well as soon I'll have a review out for Diamonds Are Forever and Season 4 of Stranger Things. And if you're new here, be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel. So until my next review, take care everybody.